So welcome to SEF 2024, Adil.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you with us. I want to get to know more about who you are. So tell us who you are as Adil. What do you do as a men's masculinity coach? And about your journey overall.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to get into straight away, but fine. So yeah, my name is Adil. I've been in Dubai now for about 3 years. So I actually started off my career in the British government. So not James Bond, but I was unfortunately probably the most boring job in the world. It's working in procurement. So I used to buy things for hospitals and government and everything like that. But what I do now is I'm the founder of a group called Brotherhood UAE as a men's group. And what that is really is a place for men to be men, for them to share what's going on in their lives, to grow together as a tribe, to share what's happening between them, but also to be there for each other as friends. One of the biggest things that I find that men are facing, not just in the UAE, but in general, but especially here in Dubai, is that people are lonely. And I wanted to combat that. And it started because I needed it. And back in the UK, before I came here, I went through an incredibly difficult time where I was trying to repair a relationship that I had damaged because I cheated on my partner. So trying to repair that, plus having an alcoholic mother that was just tearing our life apart in a way which was just damaging to see. Maybe she wasn't violent or anything like this, but it was hard to watch. It's hard to be part of this life. And I had been living at home with my mum from the age of, I guess, all my life until the age of 31. And already that felt like a very difficult thing for me to do. So even though I'm half Pakistani, half Indian, and in our culture, men do stay at home with their parents for a long time. I grew up in London. So my friends were all very Western. And so I did feel this lack of being a man by being at home, you know? So I held I harbored a lot of resentment for being at home. At the age of 31, after trying to deal with this repair of this relationship that was falling apart, this love of my life, my mum had a particularly bad episode and I recorded her being an absolute mess because I was sick of trying to deal with it on my own, between me and my sister. And I sent the video to my uncle. And he couldn't believe it, what he was seeing, because he never really believed us. And out of the shame and the embarrassment that my mum felt, she kicked me out and told me to leave. And I felt this mixture of relief and anger. I was like, how? We're not English, don't mean to offend anyone, but this is not something that we do in our culture. But like I said, I felt also relief. So I left. I thought, fine. I get to go and do my own thing now. I can be a man. Because throughout my life, I never felt like a man. And I had a series of behaviors we would probably coin it toxic now. But there were ways in which I would make myself feel like a man. Whether it's through spending, whether it's through being with women and womanizing and that kind of thing, and exercising might or an authority over people. It wasn't real masculinity. I always felt like I was less than. And my dad was a very strong, powerful man that was the complete opposite of what I was. He was charismatic, he was strong, he was a guy that could make things happen. And maybe a man like this. But I never felt like that. All my life, I was the soft one. And so I suppressed a lot of how I felt throughout my life because he wouldn't necessarily want to hear it. And I just felt like that's not what men do. And that's also something that maybe some of our listeners can understand and appreciate and connect with. But when I left, I realized that it really hit me that I wasn't at home anymore, and I felt all this pain and shame, and I decided to go to a retreat. I had to get out of the country. I just needed to get away from everyone, my partner, my mom, my sister, away from responsibility, away from the thoughts and the feelings. And I went on this yoga and surfing retreat in Morocco. And I just wanted to be around people that were just more spiritual than me, people that I could just wake up in the morning with and just do some yoga and not even talk to anyone, just connect with myself, or just to not connect with anything. And while I was there, I met a healer, a Reiki healer. And I don't know if you know what Reiki is, but I didn't know what Reiki was. And she said, listen, why don't you just have a session with me? You have nothing to lose. And so we had a session. And what was supposed to be a 1-hour session became a 3-hour session. And during this session, I was able to articulate things about my relationship with my mum that I'd never really articulated before. Things around the pain that I felt, the resentment that I felt, the anger, the amount of hate I had towards the way that I was brought up, and the lack of love that I felt from my mum and what I really needed. And I could instantly see the relationship between the way I treated women and the way I was treated by my mum and how I felt towards her. Because my mum is one of our first, if not the first relationship we have with women. And that relationship dictates a lot about what it is that we feel with women in general. in life. And no wonder I cheated on the ladies that I was with. I had no amount of love was ever enough because I didn't get what I needed when I was younger. And so when I came out of this session, I realized that I had suppressed so much of how I felt, so much of my emotion, because that's what it meant to be a man, to keep things to myself, and to be the masculine meant to just be silent or just release things through anger, which is what happened. I would get angry when the truth was being poked out of me, usually by my sister, because she could see straight through me. And I thought, I can't do this anymore, and I don't want to be that guy, and I want to help other men do the same thing or not be the same thing, and to speak up. And so from that day, I vowed to myself that I would help men speak up, because one conversation can change a life and save a life. I was lucky I wasn't suicidal or depressed for all the things that I've been through, but the number of men that are is going up. It's the biggest killer of men under 40 is suicide. And because we don't talk, it's also the biggest preventable death that we could ever experience is, don't do it to yourself. The second thing I realized was that my mum did the best she could. Even though I felt all I felt, she did the best she could, because if she could do better, she would have done. And so all I realized was I need to give her more love. Rather than me looking for more love for my mum, let me give her more and see what happens. I was just going to be a powerhouse of love from that moment onwards. And I also realized that things could have been worse, really. And we needed to make a change. And change starts from within. No more suppression of emotion. Let it all out. Be the change that we want to see in the world. Be more loving and help men. And so I left Morocco. I went home. I didn't talk to my mum for 6 months. I got a life coach. I got a therapist. I joined a men's group online. I broke up with my girlfriend because I still couldn't deal with her. And I just focused on myself. And that became the beginning of what was originally called Not Just a Man. And now it's called Brotherhood UAE when I came to Dubai.
Thank you so much, Adil. I think one of the best ways to summarize it is that summarize the challenges you've been through and you've overcome is that you were very pragmatic about it, which is at the end it shows that you came back and you went back home and you fixed things you were dealing with. You didn't simply keep it in you as well. So it seems like all the challenges you've faced and you've dealt with throughout your life, you took that and with it you built something for not just yourself but for other men. And that's Brotherhood UAE. So could you tell us more about what it is, what Brotherhood UAE is, and how you help men deal with similar challenges that you were facing, and what those challenges are for other men aside from what you talked about?
Amazing. So when I first started Brotherhood UAE, it was called Brotherhood DXB because I just thought about Dubai. And it started by just me sitting in the park. I organised a meetup.com page and just hopefully waiting for men to join. And as maybe you can imagine, men did not join for a very, very long time. And eventually one man came, one man told another man, and before you know it, we're sitting at, 200 men in the group. And we meet every single week on a Tuesday. Currently we're sitting at Jumeirah Beach. We have around 20, 25 men as an average. And the whole premise of Brotherhood UAE is the men's circle. I call it the man cave. And it's a place where men can come and sit on the beach and everyone gets like 5 minutes to talk about themselves, what's happening. And I give them a structure. How are you feeling right now, physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, and socially? Often men don't know how to articulate how they feel. So by putting it in these 6 different categories, they can at least have a bit of a format. Now the men are getting more comfortable, they can just talk about what's going on. But it gets them to drop into the body and drop into the here and now. And when these men have got 5 minutes to talk about just themselves, with no repercussion, they can say exactly how they're feeling, and the men around them can understand and just be there for them. That is very powerful. And one of the most powerful things that happen is I encourage the men to use hand signals. One of them is the hands up, which is like me too. And when you've got a man sharing something so deep and personal, and he thinks he's going through it by himself, because no other man clearly goes through what he goes through, and maybe you've also felt this before, but another man puts his hand up, and then another man puts his hand up, and you've got 6 men in the circle with this, that are going through or have been through the same thing, you already feel like, okay, well these guys seem like they've got their life together and they've been through it and they're okay, so maybe I'm going to be okay. Or then it means that you can speak to that man after the circle and have a conversation. How did he deal with it? So once you've been through what everyone shared, again, in silence, he just shares his thing and there's no conversation about it. He feels seen, he feels heard, he feels loved, he feels held. He's like, okay, this feels good. And that's why they keep coming back each week. And then after we've talked in that circle, we have a discussion as a group. Last week we talked about addiction. What are you addicted to? Why? Where does that pain come from? What is that addiction masking? Most of us don't talk about these things. And that's what's missing in society today is men talking to each other about things that are important. Not just business and how much money did you make this year, or what holiday are you going on, or what are you doing for the weekend. No real stuff. What's going on? How are you really? And that's what we're doing here, you know. Alongside that, I'm running events and talks and workshops on things that are important. We've got one coming up on the menstrual cycle, which is obviously nothing to do with man, but everything to do with man. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the cycle. And we should understand a woman and what she goes through every month. And that's empowering. The women love it because they're like, oh, he understands me. And the men love it because they understand what's happening with their partner or their mum or their sister. You know, I've done car workshops. How to understand the basics of your car. A lot of men don't know how to even speak to a mechanic about what's happening in their car. So I want to help men in every single facet of their life. And I'm not the one to do it. I'm bringing experts to do it. You know, but I coach. So you asked me about my coaching. Masculinity coaching. The essence of masculinity is truth and integrity and responsibility. If we are a man of integrity and responsibility, and we know, and then that goes first of all back to ourselves, we will be good men. If you're a good man that does good things and you live in line with your integrity and your truth, you'll be an asset.
I think what's brilliant about Brotherhood, from what you told me, from what I've heard, is that it's starting these conversations and setting up those conversations for people who typically don't know how to have them, or sometimes can't have them.
Yep.
I think the first time I opened up about any mental health issue I was facing was around the pandemic, and when I brought it up, I mean, literally a room of men went silent. It was very foreign to them.
Yep.
And one of these men, who's a very good friend of mine, also named Adil.
No way.
Yeah. So I think I brought something up to him once, and he started relating to it, and I was like, it felt so good. He didn't have to tell me exactly what he was going through, but just to have someone to know that you share that is already, I wouldn't say the problem is solved, but I mean, that's already a weight off, you know, and that you know you have someone there for you. Even dealing with toxic relationships, brought it up to him, going through the same thing exactly. Mm-hmm. And these are things that I thought were unique to me. I thought that I wasn't man for having these issues.
There you go.
But I saw other people who were men, like Adil and aside from him, who were facing the same issues. So I think Brotherhood does, it seems that that's what it does,
yes.
You know? And it's even more valuable in that it also teaches different skills from different facets of life, right? For a man. I'm interested in also, you said it was called Brotherhood DXB because you thought about Dubai. Why did you think about Dubai? I'm interested in why you thought about Dubai and somewhere in this region in particular.
Look, I actually ended up coming to Dubai because of a woman. It wasn't even, I didn't come here to do this mission. I was going to do the mission anyway. And I thought it was going to be in the UK. But I met a woman through Instagram and we got really close and I ended up moving here. You know, so I thought that, okay, while I'm here, let's continue the mission. And it was hard because this region is heavily influenced by that kind of strong masculine or hyper-masculine ethic and ethos of being strong and stoic, don't share your emotions or your feelings. And we're in a place which I call the city of lost boys. Dubai is a place where you never have to grow up. So why would they want to come to a men's circle? Why would they want to come to a man cave? Why would a man want to look inside of himself when he can just go out there and have a good time and forget about it, you know, and then go to work and then forget about it again and then party at the weekend and then the cycle continues. You know, the amount of 40 plus men that are here that are living either double lives or they're divorcing or they're doing ridiculous things out here is probably more than anywhere else in the world. But it doesn't mean it's the end. It means that there's so much opportunity to help the people that are here. And one person at a time, they're realizing, oh, this is actually something that we need. I don't want men to come to me when they're burnt out, but if so be it for now, or when they hit rock bottom. And my greatest achievement is a man that I worked with who called me because he found my name on an article on Khaleej Times, which is amazing. And I feel like I'm famous, you know. He called me because he found my name on a website and he said, I need help. And this was a broken man. His wife was telling him that she doesn't want to be with him anymore. He's just not man enough. You know, the typical things. And he looked up masculinity coach. You know, think of what a man must be going through to look for a masculinity coach. How he must be feeling. How broken this man must be. He called me. I said, I got you. I saw him the next day. He booked sessions with me. I worked with him over a few months. This man is a whole new man. He was like on the bottom, on the floor. He was, you know, he couldn't even look himself in the mirror. He was overweight, he lacks confidence, he didn't know how to speak to people. This guy now, he's a machine. Just from the way that he looks, you know, how he talks, how he stands. He's got a new job, doubled his salary in the last 6 months. He's got, I mean, this is not the metric to be judged by, but he's got women that want to be with him and are seeing him differently. And even his wife comes to me and says, what did you do to him? He's now a beacon of hope for men in that transformation or going through the hard times. And it started with conversation. It started with, one, by him being vulnerable enough and pragmatic enough to go and look for help. Two, finding a man like me that can help him, because the kind of coach I am is, I'm not going to just sit here and tell you, oh, everything's going to be okay. And no, I can hold space for you, but let's get to work. I'm here to be your mentor, your best friend, your coach, your bodyguard. I'm here for everything. I'm going to push you. I'm going to poke you. And I'm going to make sure you do what you need to do. And if you listen and you take those steps, you will see change. And he wanted it. He wanted to be a different person. And the proof is in the pudding. This man is amazing. You know, he's a strong Brotherhood UAE member. He's been coming from the beginning. He hasn't missed a single session unless he really, like, something big comes up. My biggest fan. He sent men my way as well. Even other women that he knows have sent their partners to me because they can see what he's become. And to hear a man say and he told me this, that he's no longer feeling suicidal because of the work that we do together, now that's powerful. It isn't even about the money.
You can't put a price on that.
You can't put a price on it. So when he told me that, I started crying because it was just magic. And this is why I do what I do.
It makes you wonder. I mean, it's a beautiful feeling that you made that difference. You know, that's amazing. You did that. It also makes you wonder, how prominent is this here? People know that there are men who are around thinking about suicide, and they don't have the tools or the resources for it. Yeah. And I find it interesting that you mentioned his wife. I mean, it's great that they're still together, but how do you feel the work you do has it? I mean, I think it definitely has, but tell me, like, how has it translated also to the relationships that men have with women, whether it's their wife, mother, whatever it may be? Because I think it extends beyond the man himself. Yeah, for sure.
100%. So, like, often the thing that I think breaks down relationships is our lack of communication, or our inability to articulate as a guy what we think and feel to our partner. Because the women in our lives, they're already more emotional. They have the capacity and the emotional range and the range of vocabulary to express what's going on in their lives, more so than we do as guys, typically. So what I can do with men, and when they come into the circle, they can articulate things that are going on, and together as a tribe, we're helping each other. Maybe this means this, and okay, well, this is what I think you could do here, and we share our experiences. It's not just me coaching everyone, we all coach each other, you know? But then when you come to me and we work individually, then I can also help you articulate, okay, what does it you really mean? Okay, what do you think she means? Because I can also speak for the feminine. I can speak for the women. I've got experience here too, and I grew up with women, you know? So I spent a lot of time trying to understand through my own pain and my own failures, because our failures are just lessons as to how I can be better. So I can help him understand her point of view. So he can come to me angry and say, she's like this, she's like, no, cool, okay, let's just take a second. What do you think she really means? And maybe, what if you spoke to her like this or about this and maybe took it in this way? How can you lead the conversation differently? Because if she is behaving this way, there's a need that isn't being met, and you're not meeting that need. And it's for your responsibility to change that, not hers. Yeah, there's some things that she can work on. But in the absence of her doing that, what can you do? And just by having someone else to articulate it with them really helps, you know? So there's a mixture of things here. But that ability to show them the other side and to give them some maybe new words to use that they can connect with their partner or their mum or their sister, because I've done the same thing with my mum, the same thing with my sister, the same thing with my partners, it goes a long way.
I think it's very important because there are a lot of people out there, whether men or women, I mean, who sometimes do see like they're not the issue and it's the other person. And a lot of times it is. But then again, sometimes it's the other way around. And sometimes, even if it's not your fault or it's not coming, the issue isn't from yourself. I think now with you, so for example, they have the tools that they know how to deal with such a thing.
There's always a way that we could do things to help a scenario and not just ask of it from the other person. Someone said to me the other day, if you point a finger at someone else, there's one finger pointing out and there's three fingers pointing back. So you can always look at yourself and think, okay, what is it about me that I can shift and change, or what can I do? Because but if you know, just going back to relationships, if you really love someone, there's a lot we can do to really help that. And even if they can't see, even if imagine we can't see what we're doing and how we're sabotaging, wouldn't you want someone to hold you and say, I got you, I know what to do, let's go. But I know you have to be willing, and maybe sometimes it's the wrong person or the right person at the wrong time or the wrong person at the right time, who knows? But let's not give up.
It's being critically thinking about how we can solve an issue, because you don't want to just drop it and walk away. I mean, these are people we love, like for example, your mother or your partner. You can't just walk away from that. It's something that's worth putting an effort for. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of challenges throughout the way. I'm also curious about, creating Brotherhood DXB or Brotherhood UAE now, right? Why you felt the importance to make it into a career or a business for yourself? Did it start out that way, first of all? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you wanted it to be a community, or from the start did you say this has to be a business?
Funny. Yeah. I actually, when I was here, I thought, you know what, I wanted to do men's coaching, the one-to-one stuff. And I thought, actually, Brotherhood DXB and Brotherhood UAE would be a good funnel. So I thought of it as a funneling exercise where I would get a mass number of men who would know who I was and know what I did as a coach. So actually, at the beginning, it was like, okay, I want to help men for free as a community, but it would mean that I would get the one-to-one clients. That's how it started. And I knew also when I left the UK that I didn't want to come here and get a job. The idea of me working a 9 to 5 and working for corporate was done. Because I never liked rules, I never liked working for someone else. I just did it because I thought that's what we did. That's what the life is, right? We go to work and we get to 60, we get our pension and we die. That's just what I thought, but I was never okay with it. So when I came here, I thought, well, this is an opportunity. And now we're going to get into the business side of things. I struggled. No one was coming. No one was taking up my coaching. I had no clue how to build this, no clue how to run a business. I didn't know how to get the exposure. I was just using my Instagram. Just, hey guys, this is me. I just bared my soul and shared my feelings, and then slowly people started to come. But still, it was so all over the place. I wish I had someone to help me from the beginning, and luckily after a while I had a mentor. So I have a life coach, and he's not actually a life coach. That's not what he does. He's a businessman. He's a 60-something-year-old guy that I used to work with, and I love him, and I'm inspired by him. And we have a chat every week, every single Monday without fail at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're on. He doesn't message me. I don't message him. Are you meeting me? We're just there. Almost 2 years we've been working together. Yeah, I'm so grateful for him. His name is Hassan. But at the beginning, it was a struggle, and as a business, it didn't thrive. And even now, I feel like I'm on the curve. Only last year did it really kick off, and I almost went home. It was June or was it May, and Brotherhood DXB at the time was not kicking off. No one was coming. I thought, I'm done. I can't do this. My family are at home in London saying, when are you coming home? What's happening? You've been gone almost 3 years. I'm missing my sister grow up. I'm missing my nieces and nephews. My mum and dad are getting older. I'm like, what am I doing here? And if I'm doing all this and nothing's coming of it, and why? Why should I stay? And then in my head I'm thinking, no. My heart is telling me that this is the greater good. There's something here. And I remember around that time I held one last barbecue in Kudra Lakes. Let me just hold a barbecue, community barbecue, and 40 men showed up. Some of them I knew, most of them I didn't. And when I told them about what I'm doing, they couldn't believe it. And they were in. They said, do not stop. We're here. Now you got us. You got your founding members. And from there, it's just gone and gone and gone and gone. And now it's a subscription. So men are paying 200 dirhams a month to be part of this community. And they get to come to the men's circle for free. They get discounts with various partners. We're building this as a business. There's so much power in men that can trust each other and be part of a tribe. This is still just the beginning. I've got a whole 3-year plan that I'm rolling out with my new business partner, who's also one of the brothers. And he's like, I love what you're doing. I want to invest. Like, okay, let's go. And now I feel like I'm not alone. I've got a team. So now it's shaping into a business. But it took at the beginning to think, what the hell? I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just wing it. But what was driving it was that there's a greater good, and there's a need for what I'm doing. Not only for myself, but for the men.
That's beautiful, and I think one of the most interesting things you mentioned is how you started. You were taking those videos on Instagram, you were introducing yourself. It seems, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the very important element in what you do, and people need to know, the reason I bring this up is because every business has a unique strategy and approach.
Yeah.
It's important that it was you.
Yes.
That you were speaking as
Yes.
Adil and what you went through, and I think that's why people trusted in it.
100%.
It seems, correct?
Vulnerability.
Yes.
I am not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to be open and honest about my story, about anything that I'm going through, because I recognize that the people listening, they need to see that I'm not just another coach. I'm not just another person that is trying to teach them that they can live a better life. No, I'm not thinking, let's go. And I'm also here with you. I'm not better than you. I haven't worked it out. I'm on the same journey that you're on. So about me sharing this, it showed the men and the women, okay, we can connect with this man. And that's it. I get most of my business through Instagram. Even the fact that I'm sitting here today was because someone talked about me. They checked out my Instagram and was like, whoa, this guy's got it, or he's cool, or he's interesting, bring him. If it wasn't for me doing that, don't underestimate the power of social media. People talk about it, but it's real. But the thing that I keep coming back to is be authentic. Be true. Be willing to be vulnerable and honest and not be perfect. If you look at my Instagram, there's no beautiful synergy and symmetry, and it's not pretty. It's just the truth. It's whatever sometimes I might post what I feel about on the day. Not necessarily I haven't got some month-long strategy. Just being me. And maybe I could benefit with a bit of strategy, don't get me wrong. You know, I think it works. When you've got a strategy, it goes, but don't lose that authentic side of yourself, trying to be someone. And I'm still struggling with that, to be fair. Like, I've got to be mindful of what I do. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't want to get cancelled. You know, maybe it's an irrational fear, but there is something about me where I don't want to upset people at the same time. You know, I want to be authentic, but I still have this something inside of me that's like, I want to make sure that I'm not tipping the boat. I'm still working my way around like the UAE and everything that's going on here as well. And I got to make sure I play ball, but also get the message across. And I think that's important.
I think being authentic applies for any business, but more it's super important for yourself, especially. Yeah. And I think it's a great thing that you're the face of your business, literally.
Yeah.
You have opened a Brotherhood, and I see Adil, and that's great. I'm curious to know also about the challenges you faced. I mean, the term life coach is thrown around a lot, and there was this time, and I think it's still apparent, but there was this time particularly where everyone seemed to be becoming a life coach.
Yeah.
I wonder whether or not that was a challenge for you, and how you overcame such a thing as an entrepreneur yourself.
Yeah, I remember I was mentioning it before. Tony Robbins was one of my earliest inspirations, and back then there weren't many life coaches, right? 18 years ago, I saw him and I thought, wow, what an interesting job that he gets to tell people, in a way, or guide them how to live their life. I thought, what does he know? But also, that's cool. Here I am 18 years later doing the same thing. But I struggled with the word or the phrase or the title life coach, because I felt that everyone had this title. And I didn't really want to show people how to live their life. I thought, what am I going to do? I looked at different words like consultant and lifestyle and I don't know, like trainer. I thought all these different words, and I thought, you know what am I actually doing? And what resonates with my audience and who I want to work with? And I thought it's masculinity. And I like being coach. You know, I like being coach. I think that's fine because you're kind of working with them through it. You're shouting at them from the sidelines like a football coach. That's kind of like how I am. You know, you can call me a mentor, whatever it's going to be as well. There's also that. But masculinity coach just felt right. And yeah, people might come to me and say, oh, you're just another one. I'm like, well, you know what? I don't feel like I'm like everyone else. And you will find the right person for you. But actually, the people that are successful in this world, a lot of them have someone in their corner that are helping them and guiding them and steering them and telling things about themselves and helping and giving them strategies. And I know I can do that. And where I meet a limitation, I'll either give you to someone else or mention that this is where I can't help you, or I learn something to help you. You know? Though this world, we can limit ourselves by the titles that we give ourselves. But if you're just being yourself, people will come to you. And the men that I'm attracting are the ones that have gone through or going through the same things that I've gone through or going through as well. So I'm attracting what it is that I can help with, you know? And a lot of these coaches, I think, don't really practice what they preach. You know, they've got a qualification and they think they can teach you about life, but their whole life is a mess. And don't get me wrong, we're human. We go through things. But when I see some of these coaches DM me on Instagram saying they can help me and they're like 22 years old, I'm thinking, no. Experience is so important. That's why, as Stephen Bartlett was saying earlier, you don't need to have a qualification. You don't need to go to university. Experience. Go out there and do what you need to do. And help people in the areas that you can help with, because you've kind of paved the way. And you've been through it.
These are exactly the people I was thinking about, the people who are in their 20s. And I'm not trying to, what's the word, take away from their credibility, but I mean, you can't all be life coaches, and not everyone is a life coach and certified. How do you differentiate yourself from that crowd, you could say? It's
my experience, and it's when I talk. So you can see when I speak on stage or when I speak at a podcast or when I speak on my social media that I've experienced something, you know? I'm not reading from a book. I'm not just saying textbook things or Instagram-worthy quotes. So the proof is in the pudding. It's also in my experience, but it's also in what I've built around me and the anecdotes and the testimonials of the people that I work with. So those young ones will get their time, and people will come to them eventually, and they will help people. But maybe they should be helping 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds, you know? So I feel like there is an experience that they have, but their experience will be maybe for maybe some younger people. And that's a beautiful cycle. So as they get older, they help older people because they gain more experience. Exactly. You know, it's hard for me as a 36-year-old to help maybe a 65-year-old, as an example. I'm sure there's some things that I can share, but maybe he'll benefit from someone more so around his age, you know, because of that experience and that gap that I have. So even that 65-year-old that has not got the experience that I have, he can teach me so much about life without any qualification.
I think that's part of entrepreneurship is knowing your audience. So I mean, you cater to a specific audience different from theirs.
Yeah.
I think that applies entrepreneurship in general. It's very important.
That's why if you're just authentic, the right audience will come. You don't have to speak to a particular audience. Just be yourself and the right audience will come. I get it. We're told that we should niche down and be specific and everything. But if you just, you do kind of work it out roughly who you're speaking to. But if I don't tailor what I say, I'm just talking. Because I get women in my audience. My Instagram at the moment is 55% women, 45% men on my social media. Because women also connect with what I'm doing. And women are the gateway to a lot of men in their life. So just because I'm speaking about what I speak about and I want to try and get the male audience, but it's the women, they're still sending me men. So either way, it works. Just be authentic. That's what you got to worry about.
I think it's a great line. I think for anyone who's starting or building their businesses, be authentic. Because oftentimes I see this a lot in this region, whether you're in your industry or any other industries, people are trying to see what's out there, what looks good, and apply it to themselves, and that doesn't always work.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned women in the audience, and women, I don't know, as your audience or brotherhood, or when you say audience, you don't mean brotherhood necessarily, it's when you're speaking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As we summarize, as we close, I want to know also if you could summarize advice or words for audiences, men and women, what would it be? What would it be for men? What would it be for women in men's lives? Yeah.
To look inside, to look within, and to see areas where you're being triggered or you're hurt or you're not feeling okay, and to be curious about what those feelings are. You know, when you're stressed or you're upset at something, or even when you're on the road driving down Sheikh Zayed and you're getting a bit angry. Why? Why are you angry? It isn't because of the person that was slow in front of you. There's a reason why you have something going on. Take time to reflect. Like really, ask yourself questions. Like, am I okay? You know, journaling is huge. If you can take time to understand your own thoughts, feelings, and emotions with yourself over a long period of time, you'll become better articulating it to others. And if you can understand yourself and they can understand you, the world will be far more harmonious. And that's for both men and women. So that isn't unique to anyone. That's for everyone.
And at Brotherhood, what are you offering? What tools do you offer, or what do you focus on that you feel is missing? So to summarize, what is missing here in this region in particular in terms of masculinity? Men
coming together and being open with each other. That's what I offer. Let's build a tribe of men that trust. Often we go through things on our own, and I'm showing them we can do it together. You don't have to go things by yourself. And often we do go things by ourselves, but we don't have to. The Brotherhood UAE is a tribe of friends. And even though new members come, they instantly feel like they're part of something. Become part of something. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because we're all going through the same thing. And your vulnerability and your share is helping the next man. And his vulnerability and his share is helping another man, and vice versa. That's what's missing. And the UAE group here is expanding now. We'll have Abu Dhabi launching this month as well. We're going to heal the world. And in turn, we're going to heal the women, the children, and everything. Think about the men that are running the world right now and ruining the world right now. It's unhealed men. So let's be the difference. Let's be the change. Like I said, one conversation can change your life, and that's where it begins. Start talking. Let's be the change. I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much, Adil, for this discussion. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.